Hello Internet, my name is Aqua, and welcome to the RWBY Volume 5 Chapter 3 discussion here at What's Good with Rebkos.
Heyo.
And there's stuff to talk about. Stuff happened again. Nobody got murdered.
It was, frankly, things went a lot better than expected. I know the episode title was Unforeseen Complications, and it was like, no, that actually went about as well as expected, if not better.
Yeah, well, I mean, knowing what we do, for sure. Like, well, let's just get into it, shall we, I guess.
All right, that's fair.
So, I was about to start talking about part of the episode. Let's just talk about it. So, we open up with, we're at the Belladonna's, Gears pacing around.
I loved how long this little gag dragged out of just like, oh, he's a cat. Oh, it was just pace. It's like, all right.
I didn't think that was the thing. I thought it was just pacing around because he was
it very much seemed like, a panther at the zoo. Just all it does all day is go back and forth in front of the glass. Like, it felt very much a cat thing to do.
I can see that. Well, we have just this little introduction of being like, okay, he's about to give a speech. Blake is a cat.
Blake.
And she proves that.
Oh my god, the entire fan art and fan fiction community is screaming right now with Blake's little head nuzzle. Mm-hmm. Like, all we need her doing at this point is purring, and just everyone's gonna lose their shit.
Pretty much. I believe Callie also did kind of something like that, but definitely not as, like, noticeable.
This was
Blake
straight
just being like, hey, I'm a cat.
Like, oh my god.
It really was.
Like, that almost seems like something one of the animators snuck in and expected Carrie to be like, no, and then it, like, got through. But, so bad.
Yeah, Kelly does a little bit of, like, a little, like, head touch thing, but, and then Sun comes in and it's like, yeah, I'm a part of the group too, guys, and everyone's like, no.
Couples touching their foreheads together, that's just generic affection.
Mm-hmm.
Blake does look a lot more shoving like her head against her father's shoulder, that was a cat.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and then Sun comes charging in like a dope.
Yeah, I enjoyed the look that everybody gave Sun. The end of this, because Blake just straight up glares at him, which is fairly expected.
I mean, if we jump all the way back to Volume 1, that's just kind of what Sun does. Of, oh look, here's a group. I'm going to go be included in it. It's like, what are you doing? Go away.
That's very true. He's trying to like be like, hey, maybe I can get into your this little group here you got going on. I got pretty good. But even like Callie's like, dude, like, what are you doing?
Like
she's usually been like pretty okay and tolerant of Sun, and this time she's like, no. So I thought that was pretty.
She just probably wants Faunus grandbabies, so she's willing to ship everything.
That's a fair point. So then we cut outside to the actual speech.
You're not
itself.
even going to acknowledge my Faunus grandbabies joke.
I did. I said some.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're outside with the press.
You'll hear it in the video, don't worry.
Okay, fine.
Yes, so we're outside, and he's giving the speech, and
again, shout out to the animators, all of the idle animations for everyone in the crowd. Blake and her mom are standing around, shifting and twitching. Like, again, everyone feels very much alive, kind of like we saw in the first episode of the volume, where it's not just this weird static image of all of these people are standing, listening attentively, and not breathing.
Yeah. And they even did a little, they've been doing the behind-the-scenes thing for first members, and this week's was crowds, and just, like, showing their technology for how all that stuff works. And it was really interesting to see that. It was really cool to see, like, that they really took care, that they wanted this crowd to look like a crowd and all future crowds to look like they're alive, because that's a part of the world. And this was a pretty sizable group. I mean, just think about like how much animation went into this one scene. It's really
there's a lot going on here.
Oh yeah. Especially like just not only there was bodily motion of everybody on stage, but they're also like looking around at different places in the crowd. Blake looked at Gear at one point while he's talking. And it all felt very natural, which
Blake's
was really, really
mom's
nice to see.
eyes are like actively searching the crowd. Like she is trying to gauge the reaction of everything that's going on. Like it was all very dynamic. Lots of blinking though. It felt like there was a little too much blinking going on.
Yeah, it's dry in Menagerie.
No, it's not. It's like a fucking rainforest. What are you talking about? No. You see all the people on Reddit being like, "Oh, the fandom's just trying to make excuses for the animator screwing up and making plot holes." That is an excuse. Oh, it's dry in Menagerie in the tropical rainforest. That's not how this works.
They got salt in their eyes from the ocean. Is that better?
You can't tell, but I'm giving you a look of disappointment.
Well, after we see all these crowd and Gira talking about everything, we have an interruption as Blake is about to go on, which I was really sad about because I really wanted to see what Blake was going to say.
Don't worry, she didn't write a speech.
No, she did not. But I was really curious to see like what people's reactions of hearing, because I'm assuming like no one has heard from, survivors of the Battle of Beacon before, really, especially Menagerie, since all the towers are down and everything.
There's also some question about
think about it.
There's also some question about how well is Blake known. Like, clearly her father was a founder of the White Fang. Is it known that Blake was effectively a senior member, an active member, continued on after her parents actively stepped down? Like, is this...
does mention that, that she was a member of the Black Fang. Black Fang? Wow, what?
Good morning.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Told you I'm gonna fuck it all up.
That's fine. We'll fix it in post.
So she was a member of the White Fang, and nobody seemed to really react to that in any way, so I'd assume that people knew.
I almost wonder if she has a pseudo-celebrity status, or... I mean, you can almost imagine the Faunus treating the Belladonnas kind of like the Brits treat the royal family, of like, everyone's really excited for a royal wedding.
Yeah.
So...
I'm not really sure about that.
Well, I guess we won't see. Oh well.
So after also Gira's speech, and during really, we kind of get to see the reactions of people of Menagerie, of like all this stuff, and they're really excited about taking back over the White Fang and all this stuff. It sounds great. And then they're like, we need to protect humans, and everyone's like,
no one's on board with this plan.
But
everyone loves freedom and justice. I gotta wash my hair and my tail.
There's also the fact that those are a bunch of reporters, so there could be a lot of people in Menagerie who are still like,
maybe, but even the reporter crowd was getting into it.
Oh yeah, but the thing that interested me about that was that they didn't seem like they were totally against the idea necessarily, but they weren't for it. They seem pretty neutral in this whole affair so far, which
we went
is really interesting to me.
Freaking out that Adam had taken over, or Adam was planning to take over the White Fang. Like, there was active anger from the crowd. Everyone was on board that we need to be fighting for equality, but it has to go back to being peaceful, rah, rah, rah. And so we're gonna protect the humans.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it was also part of that it's like, oh, we're gonna protect the humans, and not necessarily like, fight back against, the White Fang, whatever, doing all this bullshit. It's more just like, oh, we don't want to, we just want to help our own kind.
And even Gira had a good reaction to it of like, ooh, I just lost the crowd. Let's, now we're gonna bring Blake in!
Probably, yeah. I feel like he probably knew that was going to happen, though.
Or he was hoping it wouldn't.
I'm sure he was hoping that it wouldn't, but he had to have known, because, he's, been involved in the higher-ups of this island for this community for quite some time, I would assume, at this point.
Probably.
But then we have our interruption after Blake is about to come on stage, and Ilya's like, yo, Adam's the way to go. And once again, people are silent about it in most part, in shock. I'm sure people are filming on their scrolls, which I thought was pretty nice.
Yes.
And then...
But she was also kind of effectively appealing to exactly what everyone just started hesitating on of, oh, what do you mean we're gonna work with the humans? And it's like, no, the humans are, we don't like this. And so she's calling the Belladonnas cowards and traitors, and kind of appealing to everyone's anger and cowardice in the crowd with the, if you are unwilling to fight, the White Fang will do it for you. So it's like, she didn't give exactly an award-winning spiel here, but she is
certainly not.
She is appealing to some very base level reactions and mob mentality.
Well, the interesting thing about that, again, speaking of mob mentality, is that there wasn't really anything. They were, again, like, pretty neutral about the whole thing. Like, no one was, like, cheering for her or booing her or anything. They were just kind of just, like, probably in shock again.
Giving her the spotlight. Every camera was on her, and we don't know what Menagerie Facebook looks like, but that is going to be what everyone's watching. That scene of this person speaking passionately against the Belladonnas, and then frankly getting interrupted by Sun, who seems to want to silence her. And that is not politically going to look as good as Sun was probably thinking.
Well, there's also the first reaction from, like, after that, like, you know, whole thing is, like, broken and people are just like, oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. And then, like, the guards, like, snap back to reality and it's like, after her. So I thought that was nice that it's like they are loyal to
at least the guards are, but...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw what happened with the guards last time, where it's like, oh, the guards are on Sienna Khan's side. Oh, no, they're not.
No.
So it was cool to see that, at least, that, like, not everyone is against them currently, and maybe not even Menagerie is at this point. We really don't know yet.
I mean, even with Sienna Khan, when Hazel and Hazel comes marching and the guards initially draw on him.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's just because he's a human, I'm sure.
Maybe? Because Sienna Khan stands up and the guards all get armed and ready to protect her, even though 5 minutes later we're actively betraying her, so...
They probably didn't know about the humans necessarily, though. Like, Adam is popular, sure, but they don't know all of his plans and who he's working with and all that.
They're still following him through hell. It's gonna be bad.
Oh, yeah.
Or great.
Yeah, they
great
don't know
for us.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm scripting ahead now. I guess Ilya. Wow, this seems like a lot of the episode.
Yeah, no, this scene went on for quite a bit.
Did not realize that. Okay, thought Wise was next.
No, it's Ranger next.
Yep.
And Kid Osmond.
So after we have that whole little spiel with Ilya and then Sun interrupting, and then the guards go after, we go back to Ranger, freaking out about Oscar, as they should.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm assuming this is the same night as the last
presumably?
Episode 1.
Though Crow comes into the room shockingly sober, so...
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out a little bit, but regardless, everyone's freaking out about Osmond, plus Oscar, and Crow's like, hey,
one thing before we get too far into this scene, I want to point out in the last scene, just because we now have another timeline problem, Blake's dad very explicitly says that the scroll says the attack is scheduled for the last full moon before the beginning of the fall semester in 2, not 1, but 2 months. So just keep that in mind as we go through, because we're about to have Angry Timeline again. Maybe we'll just get on the train.
Certainly putting all these events together in, like, the correct order is a little strange, because I was trying to figure out in that scene, actually, if Adam had already been, like, you know, done his thing and gotten to the leader or not, because news is going to travel a lot more slowly, so, like, he's talking about this, like, this is going to happen, and it's already happened.
Yeah.
That would be kind of weird, but also entirely possible, so it's a little weird for sure.
We got some wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
So, back to Oscar, back to Oscar and Osmond.
I am not okay with the Ruby Oscar flirting.
No.
I do not ship this. This is creepy and weird. I don't care if Oscar is a hormonal teenage boy. He's got Ozpin brain in him, and this is just creepy and weird.
We still don't even know if Ozpin's brain is going to take over at some point, or if it's going to fade away, how that whole process happens.
He said that memories hang around, so we've got old man memories in our horny 12-year-old. No. Do not ship. This is not acceptable.
I understood why it was there, but I'm just like, please don't. Like, it makes sense, but it's also fucked up.
Oh my god, can we just throw Jean at her? Like, anything. Just, no. No. All of you shippers, I'm shaming you. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just looking through my notes real quick.
One thing that is interesting in this is Ozpin gets to possess Oscar, which I think we kind of touched on this an episode or two ago of whether or not this would even be possible.
Right.
And because I'm obsessed like this, I was actually rewatching Volume 1 yesterday, and there is that opening spiel when they are all at Beacon, and Ozpin gives his, like, not entirely motivational speech about everyone being there to learn, and right now they're just wasted potential. And then he walks off because whatever. And Yang and RWBY have the exchange where they point out that that was weird, and it's like he wasn't even there.
Yeah, that's something that's been troubling me ever since, I mean, it aired, because everyone's just like, what the fuck does this mean? And it's like, there's literally no way for us to know.
Odd statement. Like, so was that... Is the original voice of whoever was condemned to live this reincarnation life of eternal battle with Salem, is he still hanging around as an independent voice? Or what is going on here? So
it's very curious how this whole process works, because I don't know, it's just really hard to like tell based on what we've been shown so far. How exactly this whole process works, because we're seeing the beginning of the process and we don't know what's going to happen here for it to go on. So I'm sure no matter what happens going forward, we're going to get some more information that will, you know, reveal some clues about that. But it does seem like it is possible that there's other voices, other personalities that it could just like pull on at any time or something. But right now, Oscar only has one voice in his head, so that's something.
Yeah, maybe Ozpin's telling the rest of them to keep quiet for now because there's only so much he can handle right now. When voice number 2 shows up, there's like an entire committee going on.
That's when it gets real. But yeah, that is a very interesting thing. And we also find out that Ozpin has been around for thousands of years, which I've been joking about for years.
Yeah.
But it turns out that it's actually thousands of years. And he says it so goddamn casually, too.
He says everything so goddamn casually.
That's a fair point. But still, it's just like, you know, we've been curious about this character for so long. How old is this dude? Because he's been hinted at so many times before, including the reference that he made.
Well, how are you judging age at this point? Because this dude right now is, you know, a horny 12-year-old.
Yeah.
He just has Ozpin memories in his head. So, I don't know.
It's a weird thing for sure, but like his personality, his memories have been around for thousands of years at the very least, and so is Salem.
Yeah,
and he was cursed by the gods, which again he just says completely casually. No one ever says anything, because I figured like the first thing it's like, wait, by the gods? Like, what does that mean? And at this point, if you see someone reincarnating, you're told about these maidens, you're told about these relics that were created by the gods, and it's like...
Yeah, at some point you just accept everything, because it's like, okay,
I guess,
well, we've gone this far. Now,
but it's like, we're talking to a person who just pissed off the gods.
Well, not pissed off, but specifically he failed to stop Salem in the past. And my question is, what did he fail to stop her from? Because she's clearly... around, but she has the moon. Ooh. That.
The ever-present moon that we still don't know anything
about. That we don't know anything about, yeah. Ugh.
And now we have a timeline of thousands of years to work with, where that is potentially a thing that he was involved with.
Why would Salem want to blow up the moon? Other than just, evil
I feel like everybody
scheming.
should... Any respectable evil person wants to blow up the moon.
Ha ha ha! Mine is an evil laugh. I shall blow up the moon.
But yeah, it's... Who knows what Salem has been cooking up. Who knows what she's even doing right now? Like, we don't know anything about her still, like, what she can do.
Yeah.
She may have made the Dragon Rim years ago. She may have made who knows what.
She made the Dragon Grim out of the moon. I don't know.
Could be. I still think it could... I had a theory a long time ago that the moon could have been an egg for some giant Grim. Not the dragon necessarily, but something. Something real big. Read through your notes real quick.
I'm just making faces at you. Giant orbital egg.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Alright.
I also loved, of course, the animation on the scene is great overall.
Oh, yeah.
Something stylistically that I really liked was the Nora instantly changing poses when she was talking about Oscar.
She is, like, officially tasked with hanging a lantern on every scene at this point. Where it's like, we're going to advance the plot now, aren't we? And it's like, no, we're not. It's like, why? Like, every scene with Nora this volume is just like, hey, audience.
It really is. But I love her character for it. Like, that's... They're writing her so well, and her voice actress is just absolutely nailing every single
Sam
line.
Ireland is just amazing. Like,
she really is.
She does not get enough credit. But what she's done with Nora is fantastic. You even go back to Red vs. Blue and her performance as CT.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a stunning, serious performance. And then you have her completely do this 180 to this bundle of hyperactivity who can't help but state the obvious and break the fourth wall at every opportunity.
Mm. And if that performance wasn't delivered as well as it was, that character would fall flat.
Absolutely.
So hard.
Absolutely.
So
It would be annoying, and it's like, oh god, Nora is speaking again. Yes, we're all watching, we get the joke. And instead it's just hysterical because it's Nora. But yeah, oh my god.
So well done. So congrats to everybody who took part in that scene. And then we get to see also, I was going to mention this, that I didn't write it down, but I'm glad I remembered, because Oscar's voice actor as Ozpin delivering those lines so well. Like, he's trying to deliver lines in the way that another voice actor has been doing it.
Yeah. His Shannon McCormick impression.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like they had Shannon record all the lines that Oscar was going to say as Ozpin, just so they could tell, like, how he would say it and go off of that. But regardless of what they did, it came through fantastically. Like, when this first started, I was a little worried.
And there did seem to be a little...
sound like him, but it was...
There was some reverb in there that was very much Shannon McCormick. So
oh, absolutely,
he was in there, so it is entirely possible that was like, here's the lines, mimic this as best you can.
Mm. And I was trying to see if there were any certain points during the dialogue that was like when that like two voices overlapping thing was happening, and it seemed like more when he was in distress in some way or something, because it first happened when he's like saying like, everything's my fault, I'm sorry. And then
ooh, I didn't even think to look for that.
Pretty much the rest of the time it was normal. There was one other time it popped up and I forgot to pay attention because I was trying to like do other stuff while also like watching and taking notes. But if that is a thing, maybe no, because we've seen the whole thing with like semblances can get out of control with emotions. So I'm curious if
there's a kind of a control issue with possession.
Because I mean, they've got two souls in a body, and like everything about everyone in this entire world, like semblance, aura, and all that stuff is by souls. So I'm sure there's a lot that can get mixed up with that whole situation. But I'm sure it's nothing that he hasn't seen before at this point. Thousands of years.
Yeah, he's probably not someone who's easily surprised, despite Nora.
Okay. I like this entire scene.
That's pretty much it for that scene. Well, I mean, we cut back to it later, but you know.
Do we have to? Oh, yep. That's just the very end. Okay. So we get the end of that part of the scene, at least, and then we move on to Weiss, who is in Raven's camp.
This scene angers me. This scene angers me immediately. Like, I am sorry, web audience, but I need bandits to join me over at camera 2. What are we doing? This is hostage-taking 101, people. You do not tie the prisoner's hands in front of them. That's how they punch you in the face or steal your weapon. You tie their hands behind the back. Who's running this bandit camp? Like, no!
I mean
no! Apparently not! Raven needs to, like, this is where we need Nora to come in and just, like, march into the camp and have Weiss have leveled it and have Nora go, guess you should have tied her hands behind her back. Like, that's what needs to happen.
See, Raven's good at leaving people behind, not keeping people in one place.
See, she's all about survival of the fittest, and now we've got Dumb and Dumber guarding the prisoner with her hands tied in front of her.
And a mage type person, even. Like, I would assume that people in the world would know about the Shnee's semblance at this point, because, I mean, that lineage has gone back however long, and
probably any known huntress individual. Just no. Just Anyway.
Well, moving on from that.
Yep.
Well deserved rant. Because that does come into very much play later, which I actually noticed the same kind of thing. I thought it was strange that they would tie her hands in front of her, but I thought that she wouldn't be able to use any glyphs without the sword. Because most of the time she uses her Mertnaster as a wand, almost.
Yeah.
They've seen. That's very windy. Please stop. Windstorm outside. Picking up. Hopefully my electricity doesn't cut out.
I got a brand new house, and the first thing that happened was a giant-ass tree fell across the property. So I'm buying a chainsaw.
Shit.
Yeah. I walked out in the backyard, and that wasn't there before. Anyway.
That sucks. Something else I was curious about going into this is whether they would recover her sword or not. And they did.
Clearly they did.
The Spring Maiden holding it, waving around, and just being like, oh, look at this.
Yes, enter Vernal. Because we can't make that any more obvious if we tried. Really? Like, this must be something that, so I have a crackpot theory on this one. I've decided that this girl who we all are presuming is the Spring Maiden is Ironwood's daughter. This is what I have decided. A, the hair color matches. B, the eye color matches. And he's part of the Ozpin Illuminati and knows about the maidens. And so I'm pretty sure, like, him and Jacques are actively naming their children with this, like, hey, you gonna be a maiden? Hey, I got Winter over here, and I've got Vernal over here. It's like, what are you guys doing? So, yeah, it was like, all right, fine. We'll just have Equinox jokes everywhere.
Notice about her, like, immediately was that she has, like, those bright blue eyes like people from Atlas do.
For a split second, I thought maybe she might have been a Schnee relative, but then I'd also been entertaining an idea that perhaps Jacques and Ironwood are, like, cousins, because they seem a little too familiar with each other.
I mean, they're both very powerful people in their, kingdom. So they're going to be interacting a lot.
But it's almost... I mean, it's if they weren't bitching at each other, they'd probably be drinking together. So...
Yeah.
That's
true. Well, I mean, that actually brings up an interesting point I hadn't thought about, but, like, how big can these kingdoms be? Because they all had to start out as, like, small encampments originally, because, like, any large group of people couldn't survive. So the people who started out, you know, Vale and Mistral and stuff is probably a group of like 30 to 50 people, and now it's like probably a couple thousand or more. So it's like there's a lot of like everyone's related probably.
And we know that Atlas was kind of a spin-off kingdom from the original Mantle.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, cities got to start somewhere. They can't all be squished, otherwise humanity would have already been annihilated, and we wouldn't. And of course, people could have just like
came in from the outside and everything. So it's not only those people, but yeah, there's probably a lot of like distant relatives, but still like relatives they didn't realize. But I mean, that's real life anyway, so fuck it, whatever.
We'll just do 23andMe on everyone.
There you go. It's gonna be really weird.
There you go. Oh, I'm part Elysian. No, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, so we've got Spring Maiden comes busting in, being all sassy and snarky, waving around Weiss's weapon in a very taunting manner. Also sporting this like phoenix tattoo. I'm kind of wondering what that's going to be about.
Yeah, I was looking at that as well. I'm not entirely sure.
But I do like how Weiss calls out the fact that you're planning on ransoming me. Mm-hmm. And then she pretty much skips straight to her sister because she is not counting on her father at all. She knows where she stands with him.
And she's also trying to run away from him, so it's not like she wants to alert him to her position.
And it's like, how about we, can we ransom me to someone else? Anyone else?
But something also that I didn't really think about for some reason is that the fact Winter's not there anymore. Because everyone got recalled to Atlas.
Maybe. Winter is...
That's true.
Weirdly close to Ironwood. Like, she was hanging out in Ozpin's office in Volume 3, and Crow has the great line of, like, why is she here? She's not in the club.
Yeah.
So, Ironwood relies on her a lot. So, even if the entirety of the Atlas military was recalled, I would not be surprised if Winter is not included in that. So Winter may very well still be kicking around, and this is actually a bad move on the Bandits' part, kind of like tying hands in the front of presuming that all Atlas military personnel have actually been recalled.
But I just don't know why I really didn't think about the fact that like maybe she just won't be there, because I'm partial to thinking that that's the case. Like, she's not there because that means Yang is going to be the first one to show up. Because she made the interesting note of, like, I feel like it's kind of like a foreshadowing thing of, like, there's no one's coming here to save you. Well, and yet we have Yang on the way to the camp.
No one's coming having planned on that.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. But there is someone
like,
coming to
rescue!
the camp. Oh shit, hi Weiss.
And again,
you're in a cage.
Nora's gonna come walking in and going, this is very convenient, isn't it? And it's like, alright. Alright, we get it. We get it. There's just plot occurring here.
And then everyone's gonna get there at the same time. Weiss just gonna be in the cage just chilling. It's like, oh jeez. But more on that a little bit later.
There is going to be some Sam Ireland line, inevitably, of Nora just being like, Weiss, when did you get here? And it's like, I don't know, a month or two ago.
So we have a little more of that scene to cover later, but right now we go back to Ranger again, talking about stuff. Nora does the thing of she just like instant changing poses, which is great.
Please don't call me that.
Yes. That was pretty nice.
And again, Nora is just bent on moving the plot forward, and it will not work, and she sits down in a huff.
Yep. And then we have Oscar saying everybody needs to get in line. Well, we get a little bit of explanation of, like, that's when he says, like, oh, I'm around 1,000 years and stuff, whatever. It's cool, don't worry about it. Just chill. And then he's like, we need to get your all in fighting shape. And it's like, dude, we're, like, badasses already. And it's like, nah, dude, you got so long to go, please.
That's gonna like be really cool. How overtly he was calling out flaws that like the fandom has complained about for an extended period. Like when we got the Yang trailer and we had again, the very direct call out that RWBY is not good at hand-to-hand combat. Like, we've seen this in, like, Volume 2 when they were in Mount Glen, but Yang overtly calls it out that she's not good at it, and then we have this moment with Ozpin just kind of pointing at RWBY and going, you know what, we take your weapon away, and you're kind of useless, girl.
Yeah. And also, Miles and Carrie have mentioned that, being like, that's just, you know, she's young, she's inexperienced, like, this is...
And I mean, that's also, that is a common thing, particularly with younger fighters, if they'll find the one thing they're good at, and they will get overly dependent on it.
Right.
And being able to recognize your dependency and stop doing it is something a lot of people struggle with. I mean, like, I'm a martial artist. I can tell you that every single fighting match I've ever been in starts with a left side kick. It just does. Because 90% of the time, that ends it. And if it doesn't, well, then we have to move on and try something else.
Right.
But, like, there's always going to be that go-to, and RWBY is 100% dependent on her weapon, and we do what we can.
But now that we know that Ozpin is going to be training our group here, that's pretty exciting. And also, if the rest of Team RWBY end up here with Ozpin Oscar, and he teaches the rest of them too, that's going to be pretty helpful.
Cue the training montage.
Oh, yeah. So this makes me...
Eye of the Tiger going on.
This makes me so excited for the future of, like, what these characters are going to be able to do fighting-wise. Because right now, it's like they are pretty good, but we've seen a couple higher-level people fight, and it's on another level.
Yeah, kind of every time they come up against someone competent, they get their asses handed to them. They think they are way too cocky and arrogant.
And that's something that is really cool to see, because in the first 2 volumes, especially, it's like pretty much any challenge put in front of them, they were able to take over pretty much no problem.
Yeah,
and of course, at the end of volume 1, they got help with Penny.
Yeah.
Which that was basically cheating.
Like, you look at the White Fang, and they are just a group of untrained volunteers, angry teenager thugs, more or less.
Who died in a train accident.
Who die immediately in a train accident. But they are going up against trained fighters, not particularly advancedly trained fighters, but better than your average bar fight on the street.
Oh yeah, by a long shot. And
but
they all have unlocked auras, and they know how to use semblances and all that stuff, so...
Except Jean, which again, we call out overtly. I want to know to what degree everyone knows that Jean cheated his way into Beacon. Like,
yeah,
Pyrrha knew. We can only presume that Ozpin knows.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Is playing some sort of long game. Yeah, nothing surprises the man. He probably got the fake transcripts and went, "Oh yeah, I did this in Incarnation 3." Like,
yeah.
So
I always thought it was a thing.
I remember that one
because he did seem to take an interest in Jean, and so did Tyrion.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's something that, like, they can see that we can't, obviously. So that I'm sure that's why he was like, because Ozpin knew right away. I can guarantee it that Jean was like not supposed to be here necessarily, but
oh yeah,
he realizes that it's like this guy had the gumption to, like, you know, do everything he could to make it into this school. He really wants this. Let's see what he's got, kind of thing.
Yeah. So that, and
also it's like there's some hidden special talent that he has. I'm sure that hopefully we'll get to see something of eventually, like, one day.
Jean's great-great-great-great-grandfather was friends with Ozpin version 6. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you remember his weapons came from his little, like, great-great-grandpa or something like that, who fought in the war.
For all we know, Ozpin gifted those to him. There's going to be some ridiculous connection like that, and everyone just goes,
It's entirely possible. Like, I'm still of the mind that there's a Wolverine remnant on it that about the, like, warrior king that started Vale and decided to, like, start the kingdom stuff. I feel like that's Ozpin, 100%. Especially now, because I mean, they talked about certain things. I think they mentioned a cane or something at some point. I don't remember. There were a couple of things that were, like, tying it together a little bit, and I just feel like that's a pretty strong possibility. But
I am wondering why we're not getting a better reaction out of Jean in this scene. because John is like, we saw in the previous episode that he wants to go after Cinder. He wants to go after Emerald and Mercury. He is obviously not okay about Pyrrha. Shouldn't he blame Ozpin like a lot here? And we're getting almost no reaction to weird incarnation of Ozpin right in front of him, and, you know, very easily deckable.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of why I'm curious if this is still the first night, because it's like he's not, you know, ready to talk to him about that. There's a lot of other information you need to get out of the way before they start punching kids in the face. So I'm curious where this will go forward, because I feel like there's going to be some point, you know, Jean is training with Oscar/Ozpin, and Jean is going to bring up all of that stuff, and there's going to be some explanation of what actually happened in that fight. Like, he just got straight up murdered, or what?
What if Ozpin... I tried to say Oscar and Ozpin simultaneously. It came out as like ostrich. What if they intentionally tried to set him off to try to unlock his semblance?
I wouldn't put it past him. I feel like Ozpin may have some maybe not so savory methods that he's used in the past that he's willing to call upon.
Oh yeah.
And well, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It's not.
Like, you read the Harry Potter books closely, and Dumbledore's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
So
I feel like once you live like a couple hundred years, you just kind of get jaded and just don't give a shit.
I don't even think you need a couple hundred years. That's just old people in general.
Fair enough.
It's like, I can do whatever I want. Get off my lawn.
There's also a few other things that Ozpin notes, that like Oscar will get his muscle memory as well as, you know, everything else, but he needs to still train his body and aura, which Oscar didn't know about. He's like, wait, I'm gonna fight? Oh.
I do love that in this scene when Ozpin announces that he's going to be training them, you get the kind of the look at all four of their facial expressions. Like, Jean's impressed. Nora is not okay with this. We were done with school. We were done with training. We're on an adventure, and no one is willing to move the plot forward. Ruby's so excited, and Ren is just like, okay.
You just Ren, yeah. I was actually curious about Nora's facial expression there.
I feel like she'd be so excited, annoyed.
She
is beyond annoyed.
Now that you give her the point, it's like, we're done with school. And it's like, oh, she's basically going back to school. That's not what she wants. She doesn't care about training. She just wants to have fun.
But we were on a quest. Why are you not letting us quest? And it's like, nope, time to train.
It's like, listen, I have a hammer, I smash it. That's just...
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want from me?
Yep.
But assuming Ozpin will be training everybody, I'm sure they'll get some fantastic new moves.
Only for 1 month, because that's when classes apparently resume at Haven. 1 month from now, not 2. So apparently this scene is happening a month in the future from when the Belladonnas were given their spiel.
Who knows? Who knows? It's all a mess. I'm sure there's going to be a point when everybody's on the same timeline again, and it'll be fine.
Once they're all in the same room together, and then they're going to kind of look at each other and go, you look, you know, distinctively older than you should be. And it's like, well, that's because we had 6 months of timeline in the last volume, and you had 3 hours. And it's like, what is this?
Everyone experiences non-linear time.
Yeah,
I love
depends on what continent you're on.
We're dealing with the 4th dimension now.
Oh, God.
Remnant exists in 5-dimensional space. Just don't worry about it.
With your space egg.
We'll get to that in season 10. All right.
So Miles, Carrie, what are you guys doing? This is complicated enough without string theory.
It's true. It's very true.
Anyway.
So then after we have Ozpin's whole spiel, he goes back to Oscar, falls off a chair, which is a nice way to show the contrast of how Ozpin knows how to be a person versus Oscar.
And also how quickly it turns off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was just a very abrupt, I'm releasing control now, and Oscar
deal with it. Yeah,
it.
there was also the shock of like, oh, I'm me again. Oh, I have legs.
Ah!
Kind of realizing that he's in control again. So there's that. But we then go back to Weiss for the last little bit here, which this is what I was thinking of when I first saw her hands tied in front of her hands tied in front of her, is that like, if she can make glyphs without needing a catalyst of any kind, they're just fucked. And then she summons a tiny knight. I'm like, okay, you're fucked then.
Now, he's kind of an adorable little knight. Like, it's cute.
It's great.
Like,
it's the best.
She didn't exactly, like, summon a giant knight in the middle of camp and just level everything. She has her little pet knight friend.
Yeah, you gotta be sneaky.
And honestly, I'm wondering if this might be a bit of a red herring for the audience. Because she summons him, he poses dramatically, and then we just kind of sit in silence for a moment. And there's no reason that the episode couldn't have ended with, like, a dramatic sword swing down or a sound effect into a dramatic cut to black.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, we just kind of stand there, and we're not actually escaping. So, I'm wondering... Go ahead.
I'm curious if this was her just testing it. Because even when she summoned last episode, she had to use her sword to do it. Like, she did the whole, like, twirly dance around thing, and then stab her sword in the ground, and then the glyphs appeared. And this is just like... bleh. And this is something we saw Winter do, actually.
Yeah.
But we've never seen Weiss do. So this could just be a moment of, like, I'm in a lot of danger. Can I do this now, maybe? Am I that cool? Oh, I am that cool. This is going to be a lot easier than I thought. Until, we find out that it's like, oh, I'm fighting someone that can shoot lightning and fire and everything at me at once.
And then Raven's gonna show up and tie my hands behind my back.
Or just cut them off.
Can't summon a glyph without these.
Very true.
Though, okay, so my crazy theory on this one is that there is the potential that these summon glyphs might be capable of being used as communication devices. And I'm wondering if Weiss might be able to effectively telepathically use it as a carrier pigeon and send it off to Winter.
Oh, yeah.
That's my crazy notion right now.
If she doesn't think that anyone is here, because she doesn't know that anyone is here. She doesn't know that RWBY and all the rest have been traveling this direction. They don't know that Yang's been there. She doesn't know where Blake is. She's just like, I'm all alone in some random bitch's camp. And that's all I got.
Probably entirely recognizes that she is not good in a crowd by herself. Especially unarmed. Like, what is she gonna do?
She's a lot better with the knight now. That helps a lot.
Assuming that they come in sizes other than fun size.
Well, yeah.
That's like when you knock on your neighbor's door and their chihuahua comes charging at the door barking, and it's like, I could punch you. Like,
it could be a thing, that she doesn't have the skill to like summon a full knight plus without having a catalyst. So
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be the Reddit question: would you rather fight one full-size knight or 100
chicken-sized knights?
Yeah, chicken-sized knights, and it's like, well, probably the chickens.
And so there's also something that I wanted to bring up. I was looking just through the Reddit post, and I gotta go look at his name. It's Kuchenjäger. Mentioned that she was possibly collecting chess pieces, where she has a knight, and she killed a Queen Lancer last time. So in theory, she should be able to summon that now, which is terrifying.
I know
she could
this,
probably summon a swarm of them if she can make them small.
This is not the point you're trying to make, but I really want this to be a new Rooster Teeth store item where it's the, remnant chess set.
Oh, that'd be so cool. It's like once she gets all of her pieces, it's like, oh, here we go. That would be really cool. But I thought that was a very interesting point. I totally forgot that it's supposed to be just, if you murder something, you can summon it. And I don't know if that's limited to Grimm?
It's not murder something. It is fallen foe who helped you become what you are.
Is that how it was worded?
I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. And so, like,
I do recall that.
The first thing we see her summon is that Borbotusk, which is almost assuredly the one that she fought in Volume 1 in that class right before she and Ruby exploded at each other, and then Port put her in her place. And so, like, that Borbotusk is special. And that night is special. We have an entire trailer dedicated to it.
It's true.
Are the Lancers special?
The Queen, maybe, because, I mean, she was able to, you know, fully summon for the first time and, like, use it in a way she hasn't before, but, yeah, I don't see that as being particularly special, I suppose, in that case.
So...
we don't really know how it works.
We don't know how anything works. We're just hopelessly speculating and being enthusiastic.
We'll find out someday, in 5
Maybe.
years. 6 years.
When the full novelization from Rooster Teeth comes out.
There you go.
All the behind the scenes that never made it in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll be a day.
That'll be the day we waited for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to.
No, you get.
It was there.
I had an inkling of it. I'm like, there's something in my brain that sounds familiar, and then I was like,
that's my ringtone. I could pull it up real quick.
Oh, nice. I get no. Don't do it. I get copyrighted.
Let's hum it. Yeah.
Well, now we've reached the end of the episode here, I believe. Do you have anything else you'd like to add about the episode before we move on to predictions for next episode and the future?
Again, this was not the episode I was expecting. Like,
it really wasn't.
The title, what was it again? Unforeseen Complications. It's like, things didn't necessarily get worse yet. I mean, the biggest unforeseen complication here is we don't know whether or not it's 1 month or 2 from now. Like,
we don't know how time works.
We don't know how time works. Everything's fine, but who knows?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Something else I did want to mention, actually, that I totally forgot, is that when the speech was first starting, when I first watched this episode, I was convinced they were going to get attacked, just straight up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So like, I was scared that, like, Blake was going to have her parents murdered in front of her or some shit.
Yeah, suicide bomber.
I'm a little bit glad that didn't happen. But...
Adam comes storming in with the carcass of Sienna Khan. Like, there were, like, that could have gone so much worse.
It really could have.
Did it have the result that they were hoping for? No.
Not so far.
Did Ilya's big warning of it's not going to go as well as you want because I'm going to interrupt rudely, like, yeah.
It's almost like that group is like super serious about shit, and then the Belladonnas are super serious about their shit, and then no one else gives a fuck.
That sounds like modern politics.
It's really interesting to see all this going down, and especially interactions.
That's kind of the classic Star Wars argument of you have the evil empire, you have the rebellion. Mm-hmm. Does anyone in the middle really care? Like, does anyone on Tatooine really care whether or not the Empire is running the galaxy or whether or not the rebellion takes it over? It's just like, no.
That's a really good analogy, actually. I feel like
I'm just going to work.
That's pretty apt. But let's go ahead and move on to predictions then. And I don't have anything for next episode necessarily because I don't really know what characters are going to be following at this point. I feel like Yang's going to be there, then she's going to finally arrive at the camp, or at least get closer to it, because I'm sure they can't have 2 weeks of no Yang and
probably
anyone be okay with that.
I'm on board with that entirely. I want to see a RWBY, at least partial Team RWBY reunion coming into the next episode.
Way too long.
And we're getting so close. Like, everyone is actively funneling the same direction.
Blake not quite yet, but she'll be there soon enough.
And yeah, maybe in a month or 2.
They have a reason to go to Haven now because it said we're going to protect it, so presumably they're going to be there at some point.
Yes. So it's whether or not the rest of the Faunus are coming with them is debatable, but at a minimum, Blake is on her vendetta to take back the White Fang, change the logo, rebrand everything, and maybe stop murdering people.
That'd be good. That'd be good. So, something for a far-off prediction, talking about all this White Fang stuff. I almost said Black Fang again. I don't know what my brain is doing to me today. But something for the future is everyone seems to be kind of getting set up to possibly take over a pretty significant group. Like, we have Blake possibly, in a couple volumes becoming the leader of the White Fang. We have Weiss, once everything with Atlas turns to shit, and then, the day is saved by RWBY and whoever else. She could be the head leader of the She Does Company. You have Yang, who has access to a bandit group that seems to be pretty powerful. And RWBY...
Are our 4 RWBY girls building their own armies?
Pretty much, that's what it seems like, honestly. And then, they're going to go fight Salem, which is this person that Ozpin failed to beat in the past. So it's like, it seems necessary for them to have that kind of forces behind them. So I feel like...
But we don't know what he failed at.
We don't.
Oh, Salem promised to buy the milk from the store. She did not! And who did not remind her? Ozpin.
Well, regardless of what happened in the past, right now, they're trying to destroy the world. So if we have like 3 different armies plus whatever RWBY's gonna have in the future, like she's just doing her own thing at this point. Like, really,
I mean, she's her own Silver-Eyed.
Exactly. So it'd be really cool to see like these huge armies come together from like all these different groups all across the world. RWBY's probably gonna send up with like people in Vacuo or something, because we have a group from Atlas, we have a group from Vacuo, we have Menagerie. Did not mean Vacuo, I mean Mistral. I'm just take what I already said and go with it.
All of the places. All of the places.
All the places, all the people, all the things. So it'd be really cool to see the RWBY girls like take over all these groups that like we're dealing with now, because it's a possibility. Just never know.
Yeah.
We gotta get a lot stronger first.
And again, Nora will jump in there and be like, this was really convenient.
I'm really curious for the future if there's gonna be another more significant time skip of like a couple of years where they're gonna like train and, get really good.
I hope not. That would be disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know. They have to like, they can't show, 2 years of real time over the course of like, 4 seasons or whatever, 4 volumes. And I mean, these characters have to get a lot stronger.
Yeah, but the world's gonna end a lot faster than you think.
That's a fair point, actually. That's a really good point. That's a really damn good point.
You only have to successfully end the world once to win.
RWBY still has, like, I was so hoping that Ozpin was going to mention Silver Eyes about something and just like be like, hey, we'll get the Silver Eyes working for you or something. No, it's nothing. That's what I want to see from this volume. It's just something more to Silver Eyes.
I think my big prediction going forward is probably us finding out that Vernal is related to Ironwood. Like, it came to me at some point, and then even, again, because I apparently have no life, I was rewatching Volume 2 as well, and there's the line from Ironwood of, do you really think your children can win a war? And that just is a little more weighted if he has a kid who wasn't willing to play ball and ran away.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Also, they mentioned, I think Ozpin mentioned it, the Relic of Knowledge, making sure that's safe. Do we know which one that is? Like, where that's at? Who has who's what?
I assume it's in Haven, but it may be, yeah. I'd have to go look at the old World of Remnant or maybe the wiki if it was ever even specified.
They also said, when they mentioned that the maidens could only access the relics, and they said which maiden is for which relic, like, we could figure it out via that, but there's not necessarily the same maiden in the same kingdom as the relic, just in case, for whatever reason. There's
a lot of variables on how these all connect together.
I'm assuming it's the one in Haven as well, but we'll have to see going forward. And at some point, Ozpin is going to talk to Lionheart, and that will be very interesting because he's been fucking up real bad.
Awkward.
Not gonna be
great. There again, that will be Nora's line. The two of them start arguing, and she goes awkward.
Oh yeah. Well, if you don't have any other predictions for our next episode,
I don't think so.
Then that's it for the video. We did it.
Yay!
So once again, as always, if you have any thoughts about what we've talked about or things that we may have missed or theories of your own, please leave in the comments below. We're going to be in there talking to you all. So it's always wonderful to see what everybody else thinks. But for now,
everyone agrees with me.
Always. Forever.
Always.
That'll be it for this week. Next week's episode should be very exciting. I'm sure there's going to be a lot going on, and I'm really curious to see which characters we're going to be getting, even.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we'll even get our first meetup of Yang and Weiss. That's what I'm hoping for. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next week. I'm gonna go sleep now.
Probably a good plan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.